Hello, hello, hello. Can you guys see me? Can you hear me? I hope you're here. I hope you are feeling welcome. I wanted to catch up on the things Ali was talking about and what's going on over there in that side of the world. They're talking about the funeral. They were talking about the gross, gross stuff that the first Ayatollah had in his book, and it was quite disturbing, actually. They discussed many topics, and it's very good. Very, very good. How are you guys doing? How are you guys feeling? I'm gonna give everybody some time to get in here, some time to see what's up. Let me see what's going on. You know, this thing doesn't tell me how many people are here. If I have any watchers, if anybody is watching out. Let me see. Oh, there's the chat. I want to thank everybody for coming here. We're going to be talking today about the Supreme Court. I made a little Supreme Court background here. Wait. You see that? I'm giving it the side eye because they deserve to be side eye. They have they had a decision which I am not agreeing with. Oh my god, wait a minute. I have this widget here. How do I no, that's not it. Widget. Here it is. I'm going to hide it for now. There we go. So the Supreme Court, first of all, they deserve the side eye. Okay, so I'm going to start a little bit just talking about what this is all about. Now, if anybody remembers, the 14th Amendment is what's being used to excuse having, illegal immigrants basically have birthright citizenship, right? They're getting birthright citizenship, and the excuse is that, well, it's because of the 14th Amendment, right? But the 14th Amendment was born from the struggle to make Black Americans full citizens after slavery. That's what that was about. It was about Black slaves having full citizenship so they could vote, right? So this is what's happening. Today, birthright citizenship is being used in a very different political context, all right? So if you're a Black person, descendant of Black slaves who got their birthright citizenship so they wouldn't be disenfranchised, right? So they could vote, right? And you're giving it to these people that are not born of slaves and giving them the opportunity to cancel your vote out. That's called disenfranchisement. Now, what the Democrats wanted to do then was not count Black people as a full citizen. They had the 3/5 compromise, I think they called it, or something like that. And they're doing the same thing now, but the way that they're canceling us now is by having people that are not born of slaves, are not, Black Americans, right? They're having them vote to cancel out our vote. Why? Why would they do this, right? For what reason would you want to cancel out Black votes? Because Black votes started going Republican, right? These people were funneled into the districts that were usually blue and turning purple, and the districts that were usually purple and turning red. When the Democrat Party saw how much Trump gained, they turned into emergency mode. And their emergency mode was cheat no matter what to win, number one. And when you win, open the border. When you open the border, flood the places that turned purple and red with immigrants, illegal immigrants. Why? Because they're already willing to break the law to get in. They will break the law to vote and cancel out the Black votes that had turned to Trump. So this is the kind of disenfranchisement that Black people will face. This is the kind of disenfranchisement that Latino immigrants face, because the immigrants are being disenfranchised by the illegal immigrants. The Black people are being disenfranchised by the illegal immigrants. The resources that belong to Black and Latino are being funneled into these illegal immigrants, right? Because let's say you come from immigrant families, right? And you were like, let's say, look, you've been an immigrant for a very long time, and you did all the paperwork, you did everything right, you're paying your taxes, you're working a job, you have all your paperwork, you have your citizenship, you did everything right. So there are certain, you know, benefits that come with paying your taxes, right? So you have certain benefits like the police are there to protect you, right? And law and order is very expensive, right? You have your roads, your schools, these kind of your emergency rooms, right? This is something you're paying for with your taxes, right? If you're in an emergency, you can just go in there, right? All those rights and privileges that you have as a citizen, you know, even as an immigrant, a legal immigrant, right? Even as and obviously as a Black American, that's all getting disenfranchised through these immigrants, illegal immigrants. The illegal immigrants are disenfranchising the legal immigrants, and especially the tax-paying ones, which I think to be a legal immigrant, you have to show like you're working or something or studying. There has to be like some kind of, you know, you have to be giving something to society if you want to stay. You're marrying, you know, marriage, housewives, very important, very hard work, right? I mean, it's not like roofing in July, but it's you know, it's not exactly super easy either. So, you know, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about the disenfranchisement. We're going to look at some videos. We're going to look at some history. We're going to look at some writings on this. So we better know what we're talking about here. Hola, Jose, bienvenido. Qué bueno verte por acá. I don't know if you were able to hear the stuff I said, Jose. We were talking about the disenfranchisement of the Black vote and of the legal immigrant vote by the illegal immigrants. And, you know, I wanted to give people time to get in. Started a little late. I really wanted to, you know, let people give them a time to come in. Let them feel like there's a crowd. Let them feel like they have a little bit of a, how shall we say it? You know, some people to talk to in the chat too. Give time for that to happen. I'm going to cut all this off, all this beginning chatter that I'm giving you, because this is just an intro to the stream. When this goes live after, I think it's 24 hours, I can edit it, and I'll edit this front part out. So for right now, we're just, you know, jabber-jawing, you know, just talking. So feel free to talk to me and tell me what you think about all this before we get into the nitty-gritty. I think we can talk about 10 more minutes and really get the show started like at 8:30. So I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you think. Okay. Say hello to Jose. Bueno tenerte aquí con nosotros, Jose. Good to have you here with us. And let me see what we have here. Thanks for this education. Yes, the 14th Amendment was not meant for everybody. It was meant for Black American slave and slave children. This is to secure that Black Americans can have citizenship, and having illegal immigrants gain citizenship through an amendment that's made for Black Americans is literally disenfranchising us, right? Because I'm half Black, half Taino, right? So the Black, especially in the Caribbean, that is in our blood, is from African slaves, like literally, right? The Black in Cuba, in Jamaica, in Puerto Rico, like we're mixed between European, I don't know, Anglo-Saxons, I guess. European Spaniards would be the best way to describe it. European Spaniards, Black African slaves, and Taino Arawakan natives, you know, which are, you know, the Arawakan and the Caribe were inhabiting the islands of the Caribbean. The Taino and the Arawakan were mostly in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, and the Caribe, I think, were closer to Jamaica and Cuba. I think in Cuba it was kind of split, like half and half. And the Dominican Republic, I think that was pretty much Arawakan Taino. Like we call them Taino, we don't use the word Arawakan. I learned that from studying Let me see. I have Anglo-Saxons. You probably have some from Vikings too. Yeah, I mean everything that was the Spaniards. The Spaniards have like there's not just one group of Spaniards. There's various. Jose knows a lot about this, as a matter of fact, about the different groups of Spaniards that there are. But yeah. So we're pretty mixed, but like part of our heritage and our blood comes from Black African slaves. So when they gave the children of Black African slaves the right to vote, all these rights, and the 14th Amendment was for that. It was meant for to stop the disenfranchisement of Black Americans. When you start giving this to people that are not Black Americans, you're disenfranchising them because you are giving this power, this incredible power of the vote to people who are not Black American. They just popped a baby here. These are not the descendants of slaves, which was the whole point of the 14th Amendment. It's not for Africans that didn't come here as slaves, or the children of people that didn't come here as slaves. That wasn't the purpose. It wasn't for illegal immigrants. It was for immigrants that legally, like if you were here legally, like considered to be under this jurisdiction because you proceeded through all the paperwork, so you're a legal immigrant. Even if you're getting sanctuary, that's a legal process. Like when a Cuban comes here, they go through a legal process that gives them sanctuary, right? And it was because of the hostility of the Cuban regime, right? Like we didn't have any sort of hostility or problem or missile problem with Haiti, giving them temporary protected status, TPS, wasn't about them being in a state that's hostile to them because of America. It had nothing to do with America, right? So it's weird. Oh, wait a minute. What do we have here? Roosevelt Roads in Puerto Rico, and I have in-laws that still live there. Well, you're always your husband's dad. So that would mean that your husband is Puerto Rican, right? Or they're at least served here. They just served here because we like to claim people, right? So it's a home away from home. You're always welcome to come back and visit. Have yourself a little vacation here. We have some of the lowest cost of living in USA. So it's a good place to vacation. All you need is an ID. You don't need a passport to come here. And yes, I remember Roosevelt Roads. It's a base in the South. And I think it's Ponce, if I remember right. Wait, let me see. It's been a while. No, I got it wrong. I'm mixing bases. Roosevelt Roads is in the east. I actually haven't been to these bases. We have a Marine Corps facility, Roosevelt Roads Airport. I'm mixing it up with a different base. Like I stay near Buchanan, Fort Buchanan, and that's more in the north. But yeah, you guys are welcome to come visit. All of you Americans, like all of Puerto Rico is part of America, so you can feel just as home here as I can feel in Texas. Because as we were born citizens, we've been fighting along with America since the First World War, right? I think the first shots of the First World War were fired in Puerto Rico, in San Juan Bay. Like we were like the first ones to take some hostages and shit. Not hostages, prisoners of war. Like, where are you going? You think you're leaving? Come here. Boom, boom, boom. Stop that truck. I think that's how it went down. I wasn't there, but it's like a couple hundred years ago, but no, like 100 years ago. But yeah, good stuff. So that's what I was talking about. Like you have some people like Puerto Ricans, for example, have their citizenship due to having served and contributed to, because we pay federal taxes. Oh, Puerto Rico doesn't pay taxes. Well, yeah, everyone has to pay the federal tax. It's what you talk about. It's federal. Everybody has to pay the federal tax. We have a lower taxes on business, and in the last couple of decades, we got some what you call sales tax, what we didn't have before. I think there's lower property tax and lower business tax. Like a corporate tax is kind of low, which is why a lot of Bitcoin people like to come here. Like famously, I think it's one of the Paul brothers. Was it Logan Paul? Jake Paul? One of those two motherfuckers live here. A very nice area. So, you know, I have my baby in Miami, just programmed moms to come to the US to have their baby. So my baby will have my baby in Miami. It's a program just for moms to come to. Yes, here's the problem, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that millions and millions and millions of people come here to have a baby and that, you know, it's going to be a problem that in 20 years they're going to be able to vote, or 19 years. Depends on, you know, 18, 19 years, depends of how it goes. Right? You know, yeah, that's a problem, but it's the incentive. All right, because you're going to have the mom come, probably the husband too, right? You're going to have they're going to have to pay exorbitant amounts of money to coyotes. They may suffer, and some of them may suffer and die along the way. It's not a good thing. These are good people that bring these people here. And it creates an incentive. And what you want to do is disincentivize this illegal activity. And having this not only disenfranchises Black and Latino legal voices, it also creates an incentive for people to come. And what you want to do is remove the incentive. Like, to understand the behavior, you have to understand the incentive. It's very important. All right, we're about to get into the main show. So I'm going to start looking for some newscasts here about this, about the Supreme Court decision. All right. I want to give you guys some. Okay. I'm going to have some things about the ruling. Let's start this out. Okay. You guys ready to grok? It looked like Chicago. Where? They just served there. We have been there. My sister-in-law is from sister-in-law. Okay. They have a place in Luquillo. So we're in-laws, right? You know, basically. So like we can like sort of claim. Yeah, it's you know, you're kind of there. You're almost there. This is what I call cookout territory, where you're not blood relative, but you're welcome to the cookout. You know what I'm talking about? You can come eat the pork with us. You can sit down and we could do some salsa dances, a little merengue. Moviendo la cadera. We do, you know, a little bit of dancing. And this is cookout territory. You're welcome to the cookout. And at the cookout, you're basically family, right? Not blood, but family. That's what I'm talking about. All right. We're going to start to get into this topic. I'm going to try to share a screen here. This is the land of, like, one of the things we love the most is pork. Right. So to us, pork is a delicacy, not a delicacy. We eat it year round, but it's what we eat for Christmas. Christmas pork, pernil. That's when you take the whole leg and you cook it in the oven. Or rotisserie. They like slow cook the pork on a spit roast, you know, after it's well seasoned. We really love that. All right. Oh, don't be sorry. It looked like Chicago. You mean Puerto Rico looked like Chicago? I don't think so. I don't know which side. I mean, it does have some places that have been not great since the hurricane, but there's been a lot of reconstruction. Food is amazing. Yes, the food is amazing. All right, let's get into this a little bit. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
Another decision, and it's a big one.
You can hear it?
It has to do with birthright citizenship. It was an executive order that President Trump, on day one of his second term in January 2025, signed the executive order. It was immediately challenged. And now we can tell you that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled against President Trump's order to limit birthright citizenship.
Okay, as I understand, this is a 5-4 ruling. All right, we're going to get into it now. This is the building. You see, I had it in the background.
Shannon, we have talked for some time about the president feeling that he would not win on this one. The question is, why not?
Okay. Right off the bat, it says children born in the United States to parents unlawfully or temporarily present are, quote, subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and are citizens at birth under the 14th Amendment's citizenship clause.
That's a lie, because that was made for children of slaves. These are not the children of Black Americans. And these are not the children of people under the subject of America. Like slaves were under the subject of America. The grand old party, or GOP, is grand because they fought the Democrats. The Democrats wanted slaves. The Republican Party was formed to fight to end slavery, right? That's the whole purpose of the Republican Party, where it started, what it's about. It's about fighting the Democrats because the Democrats were slavers. This is what happened. That's why it's known as the GOP, the grand old party that ended slavery, the grand old party that won the Civil War. The Union, Republican, the Confederacy, Democrat. When they're taking down statues, they're taking down statues of their own guys, their own Confederate generals, like they're going to hide it. That's why they hate those statues, because it's their statue. That guy had slaves. Was he a Democrat? Shut up. Take the statue down.
Look how this broke down. As we expected, the Chief Justice wrote this opinion. Justices Sotomayor, Kagan, Barrett, and Jackson joined. Jackson has a concurring opinion in which Sotomayor joins. Justice Kavanaugh files an opinion concurring in the judgment and dissent.
Some of these people, I swear to God, like, you know, if you hired better people, Trump, you wouldn't have to fire them so much.
In part, the dissent comes from Justice Thomas. He is joined by Gorsuch, Alito, and then Justice Gorsuch apparently has his own dissenting opinion. So it is what we expected after the arguments here, and it looks like a bit of a split, but enough of a plurality coming together to say that the executive order that the president issued very quickly upon taking office is no good, and that if people are here, subject to the jurisdiction thereof includes people who are here illegally. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice.
Okay, so here's what I think. I think that what they are fighting is the way that the executive order was given. Like, this is my interpretation. The court doesn't like to agree with things that aren't laws. They will like take down laws or enforce laws, but an executive order is not a law, right? So what is going to happen is they're going to try to put a bill, and through a bill create a law, and then the Supreme Court can say, okay, is this law, which is not an executive order, is this law in line with the 19th Amendment, and get it through that way. But that is fucking slow, especially with fucking John Thune. It could become nearly impossible. All right, do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, the Supreme Court doesn't like to make decisions. They like to say, okay, so you guys are right or you guys are wrong on the decisions you guys made, but they don't like to create law. They interpret it if the law is legal or not legal, right? And because it's kind of a law, but it's also an executive order, if I'm understanding this correctly, right? So they're going to say, look, we're not going to sit here and back an executive order because it's not a law. Pass it through the Senate, pass it through the Congress, and when it gets to us again, we're going to say, yeah, that's in line with the 14th Amendment. Yeah, sure, right? But it's in line because it's been done legally. Now, I don't know what the agreement of whoever was the turncoat is. It's usually, what's the name of the guy? Roberts? Is Roberts the guy that's supposed to be a conservative but keeps voting with these fucking people? I don't know. We're going to get into it. Maybe they're going to explain it for me. I'm going off my gut. Like, I get into American politics, but a lot of this is from living as an American, not as an academic. A lot of academics, they live in their ivory towers and they claim to, like, yeah, maybe you may know the letter of the law, but you don't know the heart of the people because you never lived among the people. You never had to like do the kind of hard work, the people that like, these are your circles are very high up. I respect you. I like you. I like that you defend our Constitution and do this shit. That don't mean that you understand our hearts and what we go through. It means that we can work well together. With some academics, some of them are terrible.
As Robert says this, citizenship then and now was the right to have rights to freely participate in our political community. Talking about the 14th Amendment, the framers of the 14th Amendment extended that promise to every freeborn person in this land. That's a quote, and it looks like it's a quote back to some of the legislative debate about this in Congress. He says we keep that promise today. So
that's part of the legislative debate. But part of that legislative debate was when they said this, they were not talking about immigrants. This whole discussion was about slaves. That's what's being ignored here. This was about slaves and the children of slaves. We hold those promises, these freedoms, these rights for slaves and the children of slaves. No one was talking about illegal immigrants back then. You have to take it in context. Like if I say we're going to do the thing at 5 o'clock, okay, we're going to do the thing at 5 o'clock. The context matter. What are we going to do? Are we going to bake a cake or are we going to go on a killing spree? The context matter. What were we talking about? What are we giving rights to? Who are we talking about giving rights? Well, the context was the children of slaves, people born here, right? They immigrated here, sure, by force, because, you know, during African slave wars where they were taking each other hostage and selling each other, we bought some on the coast, right? And, you know, that's what happened. They enslaved each other, sold some to us. They're still enslaving each other. The Democrats don't talk about that either.
A loss probably expected by the Trump White House, but it is official. And
you see how she said expected. Why do you think she's saying expected? Because it was an executive order meant to be used until challenged. You understand what I'm saying? Look, I gotta stop these people from being able to stay because they have a baby on the way, which is funny. You know what the funniest part of this argument is? That they're granting rights to citizens or, you know, proto-citizens in the womb. Oh, so you think people in the womb have rights now? Do they have a right to live? They have a right to citizenship, but they don't have a right to live. That's funny. Like this decision, they could take this decision and say, okay, you win. I guess people in the womb have rights now. I mean, the Supreme Court just said they have rights. Because you guys are using this law to make it impossible to get rid of a pregnant woman. Why? Because the citizen in her womb has rights. So I guess citizens in the womb have rights now. Oh, ain't that funny? Ain't that funny? That's hilarious. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to ask. This is hilarious.
it's a thick one, so we'll keep reading.
Basically, they needed a way to stop these couples and keeping families together, to get rid of them altogether. You have to find this executive order to say, oh, you're separating families. No. We're going to deport them all together. Nobody's getting separated, but you can't really separate them if the citizen in the womb has rights. So the argument is the citizen in the womb has rights, so you can't deport him. But you're also arguing that what you have in the womb is a citizen with rights. So that's where it gets tricky. But this is what I'm saying. What was being done was done out of a need for expedience.
All right. Thank you so much. Let's bring in Jonathan Turley. President Trump went to this argument. It didn't go as they would like. And you have some thoughts as to why. Go ahead.
Well, this is exactly what some of us predicted after the oral argument. Chief Justice Roberts said rather pointedly
Thank you.
when counsel noted that things have changed in the citizenship area and how people become citizens. Roberts pointedly said, "Well, the Constitution hasn't changed," and that is reflected.
Thank you. Constitution hasn't changed. It was about black people. It's still about black people. You motherfuckers are disenfranchising us. I know I'm only half black, but I'm still full right.
In this opinion, it is a roaring decision in favor of birthright citizenship as contained within the 14th Amendment. That is despite the countervailing evidence of some of the drafters of that amendment that they did not want this to be something that would cover birthright citizenship. Now, having said that, there are very good arguments on both sides here, good faith arguments. And I'm just reading through the Roberts decision today, but it is a very comprehensive.
Birthright citizenship would be a lot less powerful. A lot less. Look at what Alex is telling us. What's ironic is birthright citizenship isn't all that popular with half the Democratic voters or the Democrat. You can't call them Democratic. They're Democrat voters. If they're voters, they're all Democratic because it's a democracy. Democrat is the name of the party. So I would advise people against mixing up Democratic. They're not Democratic. They hate democracy. I mean, did Kamala win in a primary? No, she didn't. Did Hillary win in a primary? No, she didn't. They sandbagged Sanders and Biden. I mean, I'm not saying I wanted Biden over Kamala or either of them. I'm not saying I wanted Bernie over Hillary. But these people are not Democratic. Not at all. Not even a little. Anyway, my point, I don't mean to berate you. I know what you're trying to say, so I'm not trying to make this about you or talking shit about you. It's not my point at all. That's not what I mean. But it's ironic that birthright citizenship isn't at all popular, and this could be just like an auto spell, auto corrects. I hate it when it does it to me. Isn't all that popular with half the Democrat voters. How popular would it be? Tell me, how popular would it be if birthright citizenship takes away? And this could be the 5D chess, right? The 16D checkers, all right? The 32D twister, all right? The 64D Jenga that we're playing here. All right, now that we have a Supreme Court decision that basically says, hey, the citizens in the womb have rights, now you get out to turn all the feminists and say, hey, guess what? Citizens in the womb have rights. We're canceling all abortions. Your rules. How popular? What would the Democrats think of that? They're like, whoa. They're going to say, fuck these immigrants. we love the right to kill babies. You can't take that from us. Well, they're the ones getting disenfranchised. Alex is telling, I guarantee at least half the Democrat voters would be open to ending birthright citizenship. Well, yeah, because black people are the ones that are getting disenfranchised by this. This was to give citizenship to slaves and children of slaves, black children of slaves, black American slaves. This is not to disenfranchise the votes of black Americans by including people from other places that didn't go through slavery or its descendants. The Democrats were this is very easily a win for anti-abortion because you have the Supreme Court granting the citizens in the womb rights. And if they have a right to citizenship, they have a right to live. This could be the 64D Jenga that we're playing here. I think they have accelerationism in New York. They're letting New York get worse before it gets better. They're waiting for that blowback. And that could come because right now, the people that won in New York, they're farther left, right? That means that everybody that's in the middle will have they can easily win within the left, right, the left. But if you're counting left and right, and New York is starting to turn right, and you make your primary winners even more left, that gives the right side candidate that a New York right winger is basically a 90s Democrat. So that gives them an opportunity to get in there, maybe change the balance. I'm not hopeful, maybe for the next time, but it's a possibility that there's going to be blowback from that. So anyway, my point was that this is disenfranchising Black people and Latinos who did all the paperwork and did everything legally for their kids to have citizenship and themselves.
In good faith argument. What is left here is a decision for the country as to whether it wants to examine a constitutional amendment. Some countries that have had birthright citizenship got rid of it because many of us believe it's an incredibly ill-considered policy. We can make that decision as well, but we're going to have that debate, and we're going to have to agree. We really haven't had a national debate on this. This has largely been contained within the court system, and it may be time for us as a country to decide how we define citizenship.
All right, 14th Amendment ratified in 1868. Back to Shannon Bream for the view from Justice Thomas, who was a dissenter here. Shannon.
Yeah, in his dissent, he gets to that point, Bill, that you're making there. The 14th Amendment was enacted in the wake of the Civil War, quote, with the one pervading purpose of securing equal citizenship for the freed slaves. He writes, it was enacted, as Justice Harlan wrote, to secure to a race recently emancipated the civil rights that other citizens enjoyed. So Thomas is all.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? This is not for illegal immigrants. This is for Black Americans. Black Americans, descendants of slaves, and the children of Black Americans. And, you know, Black slaves, of course. Black slaves and the children of Black slaves. This is for that descendancy. What we have is not white replacement theory. They're not replacing white votes. They're replacing Black votes because Blacks and Latinos decided that we were going to start voting conservative. Like, I've been conservative for a long time, but in general, the shift was there. The shift was so worrying that instead of trying to appease, or they knew it was too hard to appease, the problems that they were having in the Black communities and the Latino communities, they said, no, fuck it. We're just going to bring in the new people. It's great. It's going to be like old times. You're going to have people with less rights that work cheaper and have and you know what? They're going to be basically our slaves because you're going to go, but you know, pull your zipper down and say suck it or I'll call ICE. They like that kind of shit. The Democrats love that shit. They love slavery. They love people with less rights. They love having that kind of control over people. Fucking dirty bastards.
Always been about. That was the purpose of the 14th Amendment. He goes on to say that the court, meaning the majority now, has repurposed the 14th Amendment to protect its own set of preferred rights that the Reconstruction Congress never contemplated.
The Reconstruction Congress, the people that wrote this law, specifically said it wasn't for illegals. That is said it wasn't for immigrants. They said it. They're not. She hasn't said it yet. But when they go over the discussions that were had, like the minutes or whatever you call the congressional record, I think it's called, of the debate that was had, everyone was saying on both sides, well, obviously this isn't for, right? Because the Democrats, they're like racist as fuck. They fought for slavery. That, well, we're not letting, you know, people from other countries have this. This is just for the slaves. We're not giving this to more people. But back then, the Democrats were more mask off about their slavery. And the Republicans were agreeing, well, of course we can't give everybody that comes here the right to vote. So they were agreed on this. This is not for illegal aliens. They agreed on this.
And that cannot find support in the text. Today, the court does so by recognizing a constitutional right to citizenship for the children of all foreign birth tourists and illegal aliens. He uses very specific language there. Again, Justice Thomas adhered.
Okay, so you know what is not a tourist? Anybody guess what is not a tourist? A tourist is someone that comes here legally, right? You know what is not a tourist? An illegal alien. Let's hear that again.
for the children of all foreign birth tourists and illegal aliens. He uses very specific language there. Again,
birth tourist. Okay, I'm going to tell you what she's talking about. People that come here just in time to have birth. You know who does this a lot? Chinese elites. Yeah, someone new, someone new. Now, this person knows what's up. There's a great channel called China Uncensored. You guys should check it out. They cover this. And you know what? I'm gonna find them. They have a lot of problem with Google algorithm not being nice to them. Like even now, if I want to write the search out, it never auto-completes to it. Let me see. I think they have okay, I'm just gonna put the channel in. I know they have they've talked about this, but I'm just gonna put the channel in here. This is the link to China Uncensored. You guys should really check it out, because if we're looking into the geopolitics of America, of Iran, of a lot of things, right? Of a lot of things, China is important. Like if you're looking at the problems we have with our universities, well, China is a place that basically funds a lot of the crazy people in our university. They're organizers, that they're behind Code Pink. I think it's Neville Singham is the guy's name that does a lot of these NGO stuff. So that's why it's important to know what's going on with China. China is very closely tied to Iran, gave them a lot of weapons, gave them a lot of defense. China is very close to Syria and Venezuela. So this is a good reason to know about that. But when they're talking about birth tourists, they're talking about that. People that come from China, they come to have a baby, and that's it. Yes, but it's the men. Like the problem here is women. Black women, when it comes to, political knowledge, it's more tribal than it is fact-based. All right.
Again, Justice Thomas adhering and agreeing with the government's argument, with which they made here very passionately, that the 14th Amendment was about protecting the children of freed slaves and not what we've come to understand it as. You see his language there. He mentions birth tourism. It came up in the arguments, and clearly that's a very big concern of the dissenters. We also have dissents by Justice Alito and others, so we'll read those as well.
All right, thank you so much. Let's bring in Hugh Hewitt, of course. He's has the Hugh Hewitt Show and a Fox News contributor with his reaction this morning. Good morning, Hugh.
Good morning, Dana. My reaction this morning is I'm not surprised by any of these decisions. I would have agreed with were I in the court with all three of them. I think the Chief Justice has hit it out of the park on the birthright citizenship issue, and we finally have a decision that lays to rest this endless debate that text, history, and tradition in fact affirm if you're born in the United States, you're a citizen. I love Justice Kavanaugh's clarity on the boys and girls sports. He simply says the Equal Protection Clause allows states to do what they want to do to protect women. And as to the third case on campaign funding, Karl Rove, the architect, had it exactly right. It strengthens parties. It makes parties much more vibrant. And so I think from my perspective, it's 3-0 for the Constitution today. Now, I know some people, as a matter of policy, as Professor Turley just put out, would like to amend the Constitution to change the citizenship to prevent against birthright citizenship. We can pass a law to tighten up visa. We can secure the border like President Trump has done. But the Constitution is pretty easy to understand. It was written by farmers for farmers. I like to tell that to my con law students every single year. There's nothing magic about this if you just simply read the document, text, history, and tradition. So I think it's a 3-0 day for the Supreme Court, and they can go home and enjoy their summer.
Wow. Okay. Hugh, stand by. Back to Shannon, who's got more. Yet again, Shannon.
All right, this comes from Justice Alito, who brought this up during the arguments. This is his separate dissent. He said the
I don't understand why he's saying that this is great. Maybe he's talking about the dissent being great, like they did what they had to do. I don't know if he's talking about, look, you have to decide this through the law. We can't do it based on executive orders. I'm unclear on what he meant by that, and I don't think I misunderstood him. I just don't think I just think I don't know where his focus is on this. He might have been talking about the dissent, and that's why he's saying, look, he can go home. He did a good job. Okay, maybe some of you guys saw this already. If you have, thank you for sticking by and hearing our commentary on it.
court's interpretation also has national security implications. Suppose that a person's only connection to this country is that he was born here to a mother who was present just long enough to give birth and then quickly return to her native country. Suppose that country is a strategic adversary or enemy of the United States. Suppose the child never visited the United States while growing up and was inculcated with hatred of this country. According to this court now, that person is a citizen of the United States.
I wonder who he was talking about. I wonder who they were talking about. China. He's talking about China. They're talking about China. This is what he's talking about in the dissent. Yes, China. This is what she's reading, what he's talking about, what she's reading. They're talking about China.
He can enter and leave the country as he pleases. He can travel the world on a United States passport. Even if he plots to harm this country, he cannot be deprived of his status as a citizen, at least under current precedent. He goes on to say that this decision today also provides a powerful incentive to enter or...
I'm going to give you another scenario. Suppose, how really rich citizens can pretty much visit anywhere. Suppose someone from Saudi Arabia, from Qatar, from United Arab Emirates, right? From Bahrain. And we know that we have some more clear-minded people over there that we can deal with. But suppose someone that's not like that, but has money, right? They have a kid, they raise this kid for jihad, give this kid a U.S. passport, and have them do acts of terror in places that is not America, but with a U.S. passport. What is the news going to say? That it was a U.S. terrorist. That's what they're going to say. They're not going to say, look, this guy just, was just born there and never came back. They're going to say it was a U.S. terrorist with a U.S. passport. Like maybe they even, after the kid's been raised and indoctrinated, come back for college. And they say, no, he's a U.S. passport, studied in this college. They'll skip the part where he didn't live there until he got to his college years. They'll say, yeah, no, there's a U.S. passport, studied in such and such college, committed this act of terror.
Remain in this country illegally. He goes on to say, in my judgment, the court has made a mistake that will seriously affect the country's future. So some very pointed dissents here from those who raised these very big concerns during the arguments. And they're real world scenarios, which are not a fantasy. They're not a movie. I mean, these things that can actually happen now under this ruling that you have today from the majority.
Be sure to like and subscribe.
Now, I want to show you the other side of this, right? Let's see if I have it here. I think this is the route that is more permanent, and that's what's being sought. The problem here is John Thune and not getting the Save America Pass Act. All right. This is the blocker, but I think this is the path forward. Yes.
Senator Bernie Moreno is on the Senate Homeland Security Committee, and he has a plan to fix this problem once and for all. Now, Senator, it's great to see you tonight. As I understand it, you think you can solve this issue with birthright citizenship by using inspiration from kind of an unlikely source, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. Explain that to us.
Yeah, so Laura, in 1993, Harry Reid, a hardcore Democrat.
Okay, I'm gonna link this in the chat, right? Because I want you guys to know that I don't consider myself a replacement for the original content, right? I want this channel and these people to have their views, right? I'm just adding commentary. I'm just adding, basically a discussion. This is a discussion about this, but I don't want to replace the original content. So there's a link in the chat. I'll be trying to be more on the ball about adding the links to the stuff I show in the stream so that you guys can support the original content.
At the time, came up with a bill that had 10 points, one of which was clarifying that birthright citizenship does not apply to foreign-born parents. You have to be an American citizen on American soil for that to apply.
You know, when the 90s Democrat, you could pull any other thing they said from the 90s out of a hat, and it's a far-right conspiracy theory now. It's a far-right Nazi belief now. But you're just sticking your hand in a hat and pulling out 90s Democrat opinions. I want to go back. I want to go back a little bit and go over that again.
Yeah, so Laura, in 1993, Harry Reid, a hardcore Democrat at the time, came up with a bill that had 10 points, one of which was clarifying that birthright citizenship does not apply to foreign-born parents.
This proves it. Like the Democrat Party, like they were never like great, right? There was this magical time between I would say, I don't know, 85 and 95, where they were kind of okay, right? There's things going on in the background. Look, I'm not going to say I'm a conspiracy theorist, but it's kind of funny that all the things Clinton did during the Iran-Contra era and all those papers, they kind of blew up in Murrah, Oklahoma. That's real funny, right? All the cocaine flying out of that Murrah, Arkansas airport when he was governor, all those papers disappeared when he was president. That's hilarious, right? I'm not saying I'm a conspiracy theory. I just like funny stuff, right? But, as president, not so great. When he removed Glass-Steagall and housing became something you can commoditize and sell in stock, and you could give bad loans a AAA rating and try to pass it off until the VIG is up and you have to start paying, that was kind of funny. That was how, Clinton kind of screwed us with removal of Glass-Steagall Act to protect housing from that kind of stock exchange trade. So, he did bad stuff. But as far as the people, the outward appearance of the party, it was more, I would say, it was less toxic and it was a little more logical.
You have to be an American citizen on American soil for that to apply. This bill also, by the way, cracked down on the numbers of asylum seekers. It cracked down on human smuggling. It massively tightened our borders and really hit employers hard who hired illegals. I'm going to introduce, when I get back from recess on July 13th, the identical bill. And Laura, what it's going to do is highlight two things. The Democrats of today are nothing like the Democrats of 1993.
I was just thinking that. The Democrats of today are nothing like them. They would be considered far-right fascist right now, especially if you ask a 1993 Democrat about Israel. Like, oh my God, he's a Zionist. Oh, let me cry. Oh, let me wear blue hair and a rainbow shirt and a Hamas flag. Oh, Zionist out there. All these 1993 Democrats were pro-Israel, I guarantee. And they're still around now. But you pull their speech from back then, that's why they're all getting out-lefted by the new... The squad and the DSA Democrats.
And if they choose to reject a bill sponsored by their majority leader that they named an airport in Las Vegas after, then I think to my Republican colleagues, we have no choice. We have to recognize that these Democrats want to systematically destroy this country. So what does that mean?
You have to recognize? What do you mean you haven't recognized it yet? What are you, asleep? Oh my God. A little late to the party on that, but go ahead.
To eliminate the filibuster and get this thing done.
No, we have to eliminate the filibuster, period. But Senator Moreno, just back to your solution, you think, to this, if this would pass, which it's not going to pass. But if it did pass, the Supreme Court, 5 justices believe it is a constitutional imperative under the 14th Amendment.
Okay, yeah, the Supreme Court can think that, right? But I mean, you can't. Okay, so here's the thing. Some things you leave originalist, some things you got to interpret. Like, you can't arrest George Carlin because he said fuck on stage, right? Some things change. You also can't disenfranchise black people. That's not fair. Some things stay, as it should be. How do you determine that? Well, you use logic, right? Language is a cultural issue and it changes. So with that, you have a more broad interpretation and a more modernist interpretation because it's more related to culture. Now, with voting and egress and, and with entry and egress from the country, like when you went in and out of the country, that's a national security issue. You should have a more originalist take. Why? Because that's a more secure take. This is about national security. This isn't about culture. Yeah, okay, so this is the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party started as slavers who wanted to have slaves. Well, it started before that, but they wanted slaves really, really bad. A group of people that had less rights that they can control and use for cheap labor. They are still that. They were anti-birth, right? So Margaret Sanger comes from the Democrats. So that they were literally against black people having birth, and after a while they started marketing it instead of forcing it, but they were behind a lot of forced sterilization. So the Democrats, number 1, forced slavery. Number 2, forced sterilization. When they couldn't do it to the black people by force, they started doing it by marketing. Most of these abortion clinics, where are they? They're not in the white neighborhoods. They're in the the barrio and the ghetto, maybe some trailer parks. But where the people that make these decisions, they don't have any abortion clinics in the nice neighborhoods. It's to make the riffraff abort. They also invented Jim Crow. Jim Crow is a Democrat policy. They also invented like segregation. That was all Democrats. Democrats also were against black people's right to own and defend themselves and their property. They were against gun rights. Why were gun rights invented? So that black people wouldn't have guns. The only thing they changed was the marketing. They changed the marketing. They didn't change any of the parties flipped, the parties. No. The Democrats were always the roots, the trunk, the branches, and the leaves of systemic racism. And they still are. What they changed is the marketing. What has drifted is the horseshoe theory. Because now the woke right, or the ISO right, is very anti-Semitic, and the global commie left is, anti-Semitic. Yes, very much. These people were very racist. No. That doesn't matter. What matters is the policy. I don't care what. Did you switch cities? I don't care if you switch cities. I care if you are against my right to own and defend myself and my property. That never changed. Are you against my right to reproduce? Are you trying to, by as many means as necessary, take away, have my children aborted? Are you trying to sterilize me? That hasn't changed. Are you trying to control me through buying me? So I'll relinquish, my guns and let you control me through handouts. That hasn't changed. They have not changed. South and northern cities shifted into being part only of the northern cities. Yeah, that doesn't matter though. You're talking about location. I'm talking about policy. What matters in a political party is the policy. Like, maybe, you know what I would say? I wouldn't say it's only the northern cities. It's the cities, period. Because even in the South, any large city will be kind of purple or blue. Full red cities, you know what? Big ones, not a lot of them. So that's what I'm kind of like talking about. And I'm just sharing my knowledge. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm scolding you or I'm berating you. You know, I don't want my tone to feel harsh, but that's what we're talking about here.
That cannot be changed by mere congressional action in terms of legislation. It would have to be, in other words, a constitutional amendment, as Mike Johnson referenced. So how do you get over the fact that the court has spoken on this, at least for now?
Well, if you look at Justice Kavanaugh's dissent, he disagreed with that. He said that what we have to do is clarify what citizenship means. We can do that through an act of Congress. And if we pass that bill, I don't say that we can't. I think we can. I think we can and should get 50 votes for that and prove that, again, the Democrats of today, Laura, are people that would have been considered far left extremists outside the political norm back even in the 1990s. And then. Okay, let's see what he says here. Congress could, consistent with the 14th Amendment, amend 8 U.S.C. 1404A or otherwise enact a new legislation establishing exceptions to birthright citizenship. So you could say, yeah, okay, birthright citizens exist. It's like, you know what? If you have a visa and you're here for work and you're like a long-term worker and you're with a company, you know what? We'll grant it. But if you're an illegal alien, no. If you're here on a tourist visa, no. That's not a work visa. That's a tourist visa. Like if you're here working long time and love happens, well, then love happened, but you've been here working for a year. You have a year-long visa. That's different from you came and you were pregnant during your tourist vacation. So we're going to give your baby. So what he's talking about here is don't try to pass a new law. Make amendments to the law itself. Like don't try to pass a new amendment in the Constitution. Amend the law. That's what he's talking about here. So it's Congress could, consistent with the 14th Amendment, amend 8 U.S.C. 1401 or otherwise enact a new legislation establishing exceptions to birthright citizens. Like, what's the exception? Yeah, you have the right to birthright unless you're an illegal alien, unless you're just here on vacation. That's what he's laying out strategy. Like you gotta think it out. Okay, so we can't go this route. And he's like, hey, you know what? The door closed, but here's this window you could like jump in through, basically, right? Like come in the back door. Like there's another way to get in here. You're trying to get in the front door, the side door. This is the drive-through window. You can't do it like that. This is just for ordering. All right. Executive orders are just for ordering, right? If you want to get in, you might have to go in the back door. You might have to amend the law. You can't go in the front door. I don't think you're going to be able to amend the Constitution, but you go in the back door. Just amend the law. And make the law have a clearer distinction between the birthright for a long-term working visa holder and the birthright for a tourist or an illegal alien. So that's what's going on here. So, people, we lost, and they don't even look at it anymore. I'm trying to dig a little bit deeper into what's going on here. I know I'm repeating myself, and that's a bad habit of mine, and I'm trying to fix it. But I think sometimes repetition makes you remember. He laid out the path. Yes, he laid out the path we need. And I think it's a good path. Amend the law. Don't create more law. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Then if somebody wants to challenge that with the Supreme Court, I think we have an opportunity in Justice Thomas, which you mentioned, his 91-page is a must read for every American. He lays out all the facts. Kavanaugh's on our side. I think we can flip Barrett
and Barrett and Roberts if they actually see that Congress has taken action to address this issue. Look, Harry Reid thought there was a path forward to get this done. This is an imperative, Laura, because what the Democrats are doing is setting up our country for a Democrat administration that will fundamentally destroy what this country is all about.
Yeah, well, the Senate has got to get on board with actually representing the American people, us, who we are. And that's not happening. Senator, we're going to be following this very closely.
Okay, so you know what? I'm going to drop the link again. I'm not trying to replace the original content. I want you to support these people, support their work. Make sure you give it a like if you liked it, and follow if you want to be up to date in this kind of thing. And I think it's important. I'm going to see if there's some more headlines we can get into here. Give me 1 second. Because they're mostly talking about this. There's those things I want to cover that I have on Twitter, not on YouTube. All right. Now, I want you guys to check this out. This young man is Nick Shirley. Now, what Nick Shirley has been doing is he's going around checking out fraud, right? And there's a lot of fraud. He is famous for exposing learning centers that are so fraudulent that the name is not written well in the sign. We're going to get into Venezuela. That's going to be the last segment. We're going to get into American politics, then American politics as it relates to Central and South America, maybe a little bit of the Middle East, but we have so many people within our group that cover the Middle East, so that I wanted to get a little bit more into America and Central America. Today, California Senate Committee held a hearing on the Stop Nick Shirley Act, known as AB 2624. This bill will criminalize and punish anyone looking into fraud inside immigrant communities in California. This bill was created only after exposing billions of dollars in fraud throughout immigrant communities in the U.S. Immigration support services have become a billion-dollar industry in California, and now that the fraud has been exposed, they are trying to criminalize those who look into the fraud. The bill has passed through California's Assembly and is set to pass through the Senate and then the Governor Newsom's desk. The bill was created by Attorney General's wife. And why does she get to create bills? What the fuck is this? Right? What the hell? Okay, so his wife, the Attorney General's wife, maybe she's a lawyer too, and that's how they met. They're both lawyers. Attorney General's wife, and will allow him to go after citizens if they film nonprofits and immigration support service providers. Welcome to California, California. It is what it is. All right, let's try to take a look at this.
The Stop Nick Shirley Act, also known as AB 2624, is a horrible bill, and it's important that we understand what's actually happening. First of all, the narrative that these fraudsters who have stolen millions of dollars from American families are being harassed, doxxed, and threatened. Quite the opposite. The people who are exposing the fraud.
Sir, if you can please direct your testimony.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. So the narrative that has been presented today is extremely false. People such as Nick Shirley and other investigative journalists who have exposed this fraud, millions of dollars stolen.
This is a very important question. I want to ask if any of you have ever seen a show called The Sopranos. Have any of you guys ever seen that? You know, The Sopranos, they had some people, they had a no-show job, a job that's just a false person, and they take that check and they split it. You know, somebody gets a cut. I get a cut at the work site because I'm the mafia guy at the work site. You kick up to your lieutenant, right? And your lieutenant kicks up to the capo, right? And they have these little envelopes and they kick up. These capos kick back, right, to the construction company boss or to the government employee that ordered the contract, or the politician that ordered the contract, right? They were like, this is just generally known things, right? So what is happening with these places? I guarantee you, why do you think all these politicians are getting rich off these frauds? Right? They're getting kickbacks, they're getting donations, they're getting it back in donations. These NGOs, they start donating through ActBlue, and ActBlue funnels it to them, or they donate directly, or they have like 10 people in a family donate $5,000 each to the campaign. But they're like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know who sent this from this is from the disbursement you did for a grant. This is from the federal money that you took to take care of this problem. Well, this is how we're solving it. We're putting some money in your pocket. You understand why, like when you say why the only reason to stop? No. It's not only to stop him and ignore the fraud. They're participants in the fraud. I bet you the reason why Newsom is saying, investigate me all you want, but leave my wife out of this. Oh, okay, so the wife is the one who you're funneling the money through then, right? That's why you don't want us to look at your wife. Yeah, look at the wife, look at the son, look at his cousin, look at his brother, look at his sister, look at his mama, look at his daddy. Because a lot of what these people do is they have people in their family have companies and stock investments and, you know, whatever, so they can launder the money through them, launder the kickbacks. So there's you know, there's more than one reason. There's many reasons.
From American families, they're the ones being threatened, harassed, and doxxed. There are these mafias that work hand in hand with these corrupt nonprofits and organizations, and they have followed me home as well. So, you know, when it comes to people trying to figure out why they're being harassed, maybe it's because the millions of dollars they've stolen from American families. They don't have a guilty conscience, which means they probably don't have a soul. This bill only came about.
I don't think they have a soul. And not because they're gingers, because they're evil.
After the millions of dollars of fraud was exposed. This bill didn't come about beforehand. It came afterwards. It's important that we understand the chronological order of things and the sequence of events, as well as the, you know, blatant conflict of interest that's happening behind the scenes. We don't need to get into too much pillow talk about all of that. Nick Shirley is a young American patriot. He's a hero. He came to California to expose the fraud and corruption, which is just like Minnesota happening in our state as well. And instead of...
I'll tell you what. Minnesota is the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg. The tip. Yeah, I have my doubts about that. I mean, she may wear Republican garb like fucking that dude in, you ever see Men in Black 1? You had that roach in a human skin. That might be a roach in a Republican skin, but she's not a Republican. She wouldn't be against this.
California leaders thanking him and actually solving the problem and addressing the corruption and fraud, which is as widespread as it is rampant. I've been to the Amazon rainforest, New Orleans. I've been to every swamp around the bend. This Sacramento swamp needs a good draining. We, the people, expect our California leaders to be open and honest. We demand transparency. We don't want our leaders covering their tracks or their trails because they built a house of cards built on corruption and fraud. Attacking the truth is extremely harmful.
You know what? I'm going to be real. I don't trust her either. Like, this guy has been here for a while. Why did she leave him? Because he's evil or because he cheated on her? And like when we're talking about ex-wife, this is the one he cheated on, right? This is the one, like he got caught cheating, and that was like a big thing. Or is he cheating on the current one? I know he's like, nothing to do with politics. Personal life is personal life, right? But I've heard some things.
For our republic.
Sir, if you can please wrap up your comments, we'd appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Look, look, I'm going to let him talk his shit. But the important thing here is that you guys are able to grab this in the chat, right? And if you guys have a Twitter, right, you can just give it a like and give it a heart and a retweet, and maybe follow Nick Shirley because he's a pretty awesome guy. So I would recommend that. I would absolutely recommend that. Now I want to go to Elon Musk. You guys have heard of Elon Musk, first trillionaire, or at least publicly a trillionaire. I've heard the Rothschilds have a lot of money. Now, what is he talking about? Now, he is talking about what's going on with USAID. USAID ran a secret fake Twitter to spark the revolution in Cuba, funded Venezuelan opposition directly, got expelled from Bolivia, but WikiLeaks cable revealed the ambassadors admitted aid was hidden by our use of third parties, all documented, all sourced. This isn't a conspiracy. It's declassified. So what does that mean? Well, why wasn't the opposition in Cuba effective? Because these people didn't want it to be effective. It wanted to be controlled opposition. Why? Like when this type of bullshit. This is why all the opposition parties were failing, because they were penetrated by this rot. All the opposition parties they kind of funded, like there's two ways you can support an outside party. You can penetrate, you can support the outside party by penetrating its opposition and making it ineffective, and by funneling money and resources directly to it. So I think both sides of this has been happening. And you know what? I don't think I can get any closer up, but I'm just going to copy this link and put it in here for you guys in the chat so you guys can check it out. All right. And I wanted to go over just some more USA talk, since we're talking about the US. What else was USA doing? Oh, funding terrorists. Oh, I see. This is one I like very much. This is one of my favorites because it exposes two people that are very, very, I think, for terrible reasons liked. Is Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders, the audit. Oh my God, why does Ro Khanna have so much money? Anybody know? Who knows? All right. We're going to talk a little bit right now about some other events in the US. I want you guys to see this. This woman calls for the police. She's wearing her hijab. See how she starts attacking the policeman with a giant knife. And I'm not going to show you what happens after. But, needless to say, it didn't end well for her. 21-year-old Muslim woman named Hebe Mohammed Al-Asadi called for police for help outside City Hall, then suddenly attacked an officer with a huge butcher knife. She charged fast and aggressively, swinging the blade while ignoring repeated commands to drop it. The officers dodged back up and finally shot her dead in clear self-defense. She brought a deadly weapon to a gunfight and paid the price. Yes, when they say don't bring a knife to a gunfight, this is literally what they mean. Okay, I looked at the video. I think we will be able to show it. This is a video that was on TV, so it should be okay to watch. But, crazy stuff, right? It's crazy stuff.
Look, a City Hall camera positioned outside captures the moment Hiba al-Azhari lunges at an officer armed with a butcher knife. He swerves out of the way. The confrontation continues off camera.
I mean, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, this video is worth 10,000.
Police Chief Kenneth Albano says this video is critical, proving why that officer felt threatened.
I hope everybody will watch this video and see that a knife this big being swung at you thusly, and the officer repeatedly saying, drop the knife, and retreat.
Look, a City Hall camera position.
So you guys see what's up with that. Okay, this I can't show you. I'm just going to have it here for you to read. I don't think I can show it. Right, this is at the hospital, and this is a little girl that was shot by a transgender, like, this is, I think, like more people in the LGBT community, because I know that, let's say, about 5 to 1% of the LGBT community are the activists, and it's the activists that are nuts, right? I know we also have people who outwardly condemn this kind of thing. Like, I think Blair White is probably the best, the cutest and the best of the transgenders, right? Not that I'd ever go for that, but you got to recognize what it is, right? So when we're talking about these things, this is you got to hold. If you don't stand against the worst in your community, you get defined by them, right? So when this kind of thing happens, it's pretty bad, right? We're going to talk a little bit about these woke judges, all right? I want to put this here. I'm going to go over some, Irina Zuruska. Her killer was DeCarlo Brown Jr., 14 arrests and released. Bethany McGee, the killer was Lawrence Reed, 72 arrests and released. Logan Federico, killer was Alex Dickey, 39 arrests and released. Look at these guys. What do they all have in common? Some woke judge, instead of looking at their record, looked at their color and say, oh, it's fine to release these killers back into the black community. That's my mercy to the black community. I'm going to let the black community have these monsters among them. You know what? I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you something that you're probably not gonna think about the first time you look at this. 14 of these arrests were probably, I'd say 10 of those are probably interactions with other black people in the community. I know for sure in the case of DeCarlo, his family had cases against him. His sister called the police on him and put a case on him because I think he attacked her, right? 72 arrests. How many of those do you think were in the black community? Right? You're not doing us a favor by releasing these nuts into our communities. It's vile. It's racist in a way that's not often, because the left and the right, like if I was the person that's highlighting this, I would say, yes, they killed a white girl. And we should also know that let's say 25 of these 39, look into the records. Was this an attack on a black person? You should also show that. Because you should show that the judge isn't being merciful to the black community by letting these guys out because they only attack white people and I hate white people. No. If you don't give a fuck about white people and all you care about is black people, you got to understand that these motherfuckers don't help our community either. They don't help the ghetto. They don't help the barrio, and they definitely don't help the trailer park. These people are fucking evil. They're evil in any community, the one they come from and the one they're going to. So as a strategy, when I highlight these people, I try to find out every one of these court records and see how many of the times the judge released this guy to go attack black people too. That way, it's not a race issue. You released a guy to go attack the white community and the black community. You know, they also call it Chirac. You know what I'm saying? They also call it Chirac. So I just wanted to highlight that, put a little bit of a button on that. Make sure people understand that, because I think it's important. I do think it is very important. Now, I want to do an update in Venezuela. Yesterday, we talked about, well, first of all, let's give you a little bit of a feel-good update here, right? At the direction of Southcom, U.S. military continues supporting a State Department-led government earthquake relief operations in Venezuela. Today's update, a humanitarian assistance coordination center. This is a hack. Oh, that's a funny name. Has been established. Yeah, look, hey, you know what? If anybody should hack Maduro's shit, it's us. But we're probably already in there. Established will coordinate direct U.S. military support, Venezuela relief effort. Logistics surge as U.S. Marine Combat Logistics Company has arrived in the country, bringing medium-sized military transport trucks, highly mobile off-road vehicles, military ambulance capabilities. Maritime support, USS Fort Lauderdale, is, oh, shit. Wait a minute. With vital assistance, distribution, and medical support relief operation. USS Billings continue to provide that offshore support. Airlift Lifeline has been established, a forward arming and refueling point, a FARP, that enables rapid turnaround times for nearly a dozen rotary wing aircraft. Okay, so this is when you need the helicopters to go in and get people, All right, so that's what's going on in Venezuela. And what else is going on in Venezuela? Oh, these thieves. Oh my God. Look what the cops are doing. See that gun? That's a cop. It's got like the brass knuckle gloves. Let me get the audio. You see that? He's taking the money from the dead bodies and from the apartments. He's just robbing the graves, basically. And if anybody survived or was outside this home, he's just stealing what was left in his home. You understand what I'm saying? And he's getting caught in the act. And that's the cop. Otro policía chavista, another chavista policeman, robando a las víctimas en Guardia, robbing from the victims of Guardia. Vecinos descubrieron a un funcionario del 6PC. Neighbors discovered a functionary of the CICPC robando dólares hallados entre los escombros a residentes de Vallarta. Stealing dollars found in the wreckage of homes in Vallarta, in Playa Grande. In Playa Grande, Vargas. So I'm guessing this is like the state, the city, and or the state and the city and the town or the neighborhood or the building. Los ciudadanos lo confrontaron y lo obligaron a romper los billetes. The citizens surrounded him and forced him to break the bills. I mean, people will take a taped up bill. They don't care. But I mean, they're trying. They're like trying. You know what I mean? This is a report that I can't confirm. I have no way to confirm this. But this is something that is seen in every disaster and war zone, and it is a possibility. Y se están aprovechando para traficar con los niños. They're taking advantage to traffic the children perdidos o que quedaron huérfanos en Venezuela, that were lost or orphaned in Venezuela. La situación es mucho peor de lo que se imaginan. The situation is far worse than you imagine. Se están llevando niños traumatizados. They're taking traumatized children y huérfanos para su tráfico and orphans for their traffic. Se aprovechan de la destrucción de un país. They're taking advantage of the destruction of a nation para secuestrar niños, to kidnap children. Estos satanistas, these Satanists, tienen un manual de jugadas listo para actuar. They have a manual ready to go to act cuando hay niños desamparados, when there are children that are basically in a disaster zone. Alerta international alert.
Denuncias de personas que me están pidiendo que hagamos visible que han querido llevarse niños de los hospitales y de los lugares donde todavía están sacando personas heridas.
They're saying there's people that are going to the hospitals and to places where there are people like rescuing children and trying to go to the hospital and say, no, that's my kid. You know what I'm saying? No, that's me. Vente conmigo. No, I'm the neighbor. They died, but I'm going to take care of them. I'm the uncle. You don't know me, but I'm your uncle from such place. And the kid is so traumatized that they might accept it. They might say yes. They might say, well, yeah, I think I remember. Right? This is what I'm thinking she's talking about.
Inclusive personas fallecidas, tanto en Caracas como en La Guaira. Me comentan que en los hospitales han intentado llevarse algunos niños, inclusive en La Guaira. Ayer se querían llevar una niña y la ciudadanía lo impidió.
They say in La Guaira is in a hospital in La Guaira. Some people were trying to kidnap a child, like trying to take them, a child that wasn't his, and the citizenry stopped it.
Así que por favor, voy a pedir a todas las madres que están cerca.
I'm going to ask all the mothers that are near.
¿Qué harías tú o qué te gustaría a ti que hiciera alguien si tú físicamente no puedes proteger?
What would you do? She's breaking up. She's breaking, not breaking up. She's breaking. I think her heart is breaking, but there's a better word for what's happening here. She's losing her composure because the subject is so hard. And I'm suspecting that this person is either a mother or has, children in her care, or has, little sisters and brothers, something like that. Just to be plain old normal human being, this would break your heart.
A tu hijo. Levantémonos. Hay lugares en el Parque del Este, en el Parque del Oeste, en el Polideportivo de...
There's places, and she's laying out the places at the Poly Sports Center, at these parks.
De La Guaira, hay varios lugares donde hay niños que no tienen familiar.
These are places where they are keeping children that don't have family members.
Vamos a unirnos para resguardar la vida de estos niños.
Let's get together so that we can. Okay, this is a very important thing. Like, this did happen in Haiti. Okay.
registrarlos, tomarle foto y buscar algún.
So they want to like start a registry, take pictures of them, talking to them, maybe take videos of them, let them say, hey, what's your mom's name? What's your dad's name? Like get a very basic understanding of who the kids are so that they can get a registry going.
Familiar en el extranjero o en Venezuela.
So that if they have any family in the exterior or in Venezuela, because you got to remember, a lot of people also left Venezuela because they might have been political prisoners, right? They might have become political prisoners. So maybe some families broke, but they might have family. Like, let's say your mom and your dad died, right? But you have an uncle in America or like an aunt in America that left just because they were fleeing persecution, but they're good people, right? So that's kind of like the situation we're talking about.
¿Qué serías capaz tú de hacer por un niño que no es tuyo? Pero ¿qué te gustaría que otra mamá hiciera si tú humanamente no?
What would you like be done for a child that's not yours? And what would you want as a mother to do?
Puedes proteger a tus hijos. Que seamos mamás.
That you can't protect them. That we have.
Con Venezuela, que sea.
That we are all mothers to Venezuela.
Mamás haciendo por otras mamás.
That mother's doing for the other mother. Like the word mother is madre, but it's more commonly say mama. Like, you know, it's say mama and kids say mama. Like, yeah, I have to talk to my, in English, you wouldn't say I have to talk to my mama. You'd say my mother. In Spanish, you would say mama, mi mamá.
Vamos, mamás, a proteger los hijos de otras mamás. Se los voy a pedir, por favor, les voy a dejar las indicaciones de los hospitales que me han dicho que han llegado personas heridas y niños sin padres en Caracas, para que por favor las madres, las abuelas, las tías que puedan.
He wants women because women tend to be more protective in general. Like when you have a bad woman, like sometimes like the bottom bitch, the matrona, can be women, and these can be the cruelest, right? But in general, when you have a lot of women in a situation like this, they will be more protective. So that you guys wanted to touch base on Venezuela. So that's what's been going on in Venezuela. You know, kind of sickening, kind of worrying, but that is what has been going on. We have more news here from Venezuela. I may have to translate this, but this is also important. I'm going to explain why in a second. Okay, you guys probably don't know this name. It's about my return to Venezuela. The U.S. Air Force took over some airports because the government was being slow to let aid in, and they were being very cagey about who they let in. So now that the Air Force has taken over, this person that had to run is now coming back. Her name is Maria Corina Machado, and she won the last election. The problem was that Maduro decided to not recognize the election, even though the results were out and he lost. And she's coming back to Venezuela. Let's hear what she has to say. I'll translate.
Mis queridos venezolanos, estoy en la ciudad de Panamá, desde donde tenía previsto viajar a Venezuela.
She's saying, people of Venezuela, I am here in Colombia, where I had planned to go to Venezuela. This is what happened. Okay, so what happened was Venezuela closed the airspace because Panama was, wait a minute, Panama or Colombia? No, Panama. They closed the airspace so that she couldn't come. Now, when you close the airspace in the middle of the U.S. Navy and the U.S. Air Force trying to bring in supplies, what do you think is happening? What do you think is going to happen? What's going to be the result of this? I think they count by, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I think that's why he lost, because they used paper. Oh fuck! I wish we had those machines. I don't know. I don't know how the last vote was counted, but the point is that he lost and she won, right? And let's see what she has to say.
Quiero volver a Venezuela para acompañarnos
I want to come back to Venezuela to accompany you
en estas horas desgarradoras.
in these difficult times.
Quiero que mis manos se sumen a las suyas
I want to unite my hands with yours
en la búsqueda, en el consuelo.
in the search and the in the consoling of the people, in the search for the people, and to like hold you to me.
El 24 de junio se hizo inaplazable mi regreso a Venezuela para enfrentar juntos esta catástrofe como lo hace una familia.
We're trying to come back so that we can confront this together as a family does, united. When one of our members is in pain, they want to block my return to Venezuela. And thousands of patriots that want to help. So what we're talking about here, this is voluntary remigration, right? There's a lot of Venezuelans that are willing to run home to help in America and in other countries. But because these people left because of the government, and now they don't have to fear the government as much, the government doesn't want them back. Right? The ones that never left were the ones that were comfortable with the government. But the ones that left were the ones that saw that the government was arresting a lot of people and wouldn't recognize the election, right? So what we're having is thousands of these people voluntarily repatriating, like going back to home because the place is better. This is not unheard of. This has happened before. Right? Because this happened with El Salvador. El Salvadorians were leaving because they already owned a home in El Salvador. But when Bukele fixed everything by putting the bad people in a box, or those houses, tripled, quadrupled in value, right? Those neighborhoods were safe so they could go back to their businesses. They didn't have to worry about the gangs. So you have the best kind of remigration. These people leave America, right? Because home is better, because the right wing won. So this is what's happening all over South America. They're like, okay, if we get rid of USAID, all these people are going to turn right. And once they turn right, all these people are going to want to go home. And that's what's been going on. This is also the case in Argentina. Argentina was getting bad. The economy was getting bad. And a lot of Argentinians were seeking to come to America. I don't know if there wasn't many illegal of them, but they were people like looking elsewhere because there's too many taxes. The government was too cumbersome. And once Milei takes care of a lot of the debt and starts working to make the government more business friendly, a lot of people come back, or a lot of people like to invest. So there's the possibility of great remigration, voluntary remigration to Venezuela, and the reason is there's more involvement from America. The next election is it's going to be her. She gave her peace prize to Trump. You know what Trump did? He snatched Maduro. I bet this woman was crying when they saw them snatch that motherfucker. Oh, I bet that's already in effect. What do you think they did with Delcy Rodriguez? They gave her a little bit of amnesty. Yeah, repatriating.
Como ha intentado bloquear la generosa tarea de miles y miles de ciudadanos que reparten comida y medicina.
They've also tried to block the work of thousands and thousands of citizens that are giving food and and help. Food and medicine all over the land. They've blocked the flights of rescue workers. This is why the Air Force took over their airports. They're like, nah, dog. You ain't doing this. Give me 1 second. I got to open the door. I had the cat stuck in my room. So, you know, these people are trying to go back home and we're trying to let them go back home. But the government is trying to block the airport. Yes, we have to save the lives and pray. Yes.
Internacionales varados en aeropuertos. Como pretende bloquear el trabajo.
So there's a lot of people stuck in different airports around Venezuela, and the land routes are being blocked because they don't want a lot of these Venezuelans, because Venezuelans didn't just come to America. They went to every nation around Venezuela to escape Maduro and his colectivos and his police and his narco gang and his Hamas people and his Hezbollah people, right? And his Chicoms, all right? So in order to escape those gangs, right, they went to every country around Venezuela. So now Venezuela thinks, oh shit, we're getting invaded by our own people who we had kicked out. So she's talking about every nation around, and every nation around is going to, oh, you want to go back home? Well, let me help you. Get back home. Get the hell out of here. You know what I'm saying? All those nations, like, you know, they're probably understanding that Maduro was a bad guy, but they know that it's a drain on even people who are good. Like, let's say I have a building, right? And the building is designed for 100 people. And, you know, business is going good, so I'm going to have 200 people in there. Well, that doesn't mean that the water pipes can take 200 people. That doesn't mean that the electricity can support 200 people. It's the same for any city. So a lot of these states around Venezuela, these nations around Venezuela are like, yeah, I'll help you go home. So what did Venezuela do? They blocked the roads. They blocked the airports. They're blocking the newspapers. The reporters are trying to report the truth.
Y manipularla en estas situaciones produce aún más víctimas.
She's saying that manipulating the information causes more victims and they're trying to control the information.
Quieren enterrar la verdad cuando los venezolanos queremos enterrar a nuestros muertos.
They want to bury the truth while we're trying to bury our dead. Now, what do I think she's talking about? I think she's talking about the shoddy construction and the corrupt nature of it.
Con dignidad.
With dignity.
Estaré en Venezuela para ayudar a coordinar y estimular los esfuerzos ciudadanos.
I'll be in Venezuela to help coordinate and stimulate the efforts
En la emergencia y en la reconstrucción.
during the emergency and in the reconstruction, which means she's staying.
Estaré en Venezuela para llorar juntos nuestras pérdidas.
I'll be there so that we can lament our losses together.
Para rezar juntos.
So we can pray together.
Para abrazarnos. Para organizarnos.
Oh, Trump! I assure you, she told him this. Like, if she wants to talk to Trump, she talks to Trump. You know why? I don't know why, but Trump always wanted a peace prize, and she gave him one.
Porque de esta también nos vamos a levantar.
He says, from this, we will rise.
El régimen ha llegado hasta el extremo de cerrar el espacio aéreo comercial.
The regime has gone to the extreme of closing the commercial airspace
De Venezuela para impedir mi entrada.
to impede her entry.
Cancelar los vuelos de todas las aerolíneas.
Cancel the flights of every airline just so she couldn't get in. You know, it's funny you say that. My brother He's married to a Venezuelan, and he has basically half Puerto Rican, half Venezuelan kids. So when they got Maduro, everybody was very happy.
Un momento de emergencia es algo absolutamente inconcebible.
This is why the Air Force took over the airspace. They had to. They absolutely had to, because of the terrible things that were going on.
Tuvieron que revertirlo, pero han amenazado a quienes quieren facilitar mi regreso. Esto no se trata de mí. Somos miles, millones que queremos estar juntos. Un país en duelo que necesita consolarse unido. En esta hora.
Okay, we're going to send Tren de Aragua. We're going to send them to Bukele. Pay him rent for that, and he can house them in the box. But the best-minded and more in Venezuela, yeah, they're going home. They're going home, and they want to go home. Like they can't get home fast enough. Yes, U.S. commitments for good.
Yo estoy dispuesta a hacer lo que haya que hacer. Hablar con quien haya que hablar para coordinar y para servir a nuestra gente. Estoy lista y cerca de Venezuela y haré lo que haya que hacer para encontrarnos allá.
I want to show you something else. And this concerns people who have an eye on Iran, an eye on, the future, right? Elon Musk sobre el futuro de Starlink. Elon Musk on the future of Starlink. Vas a poder tener Starlink como hoy tienes AT&T y T-Mobile. Vas a tener, you're going to have Starlink like you have today, TNT and T-Mobile, Verizon, any of these. Una sola cuenta que funciona tanto como antena en casa como Wi-Fi gratis. So this is going to function like a satellite antenna and Wi-Fi at home. So your phone is basically a Starlink device where you can use it to talk or you can use it to give yourself internet. No vamos a eliminar las operaciones tradicionales. They're going to keep their traditional operations. Ellas seguirán extendiendo porque controlan mucho espectro. They will continue because they control a lot more of the spectrum. That's the bandwidth of air that people are allowed to use within regulations. Pero SpaceX va a poder entregar conexión de alta velocidad directamente desde los satélites al teléfono. I talked about this in Round Revolution Live before. SpaceX will be able to deliver a high-speed connection directly from the satellite to the phone. Habrá que hacer algunos cambios en el hardware. Even in Spanish, it's hardware. De los celulares. We're going to have to make some changes in the hardware of the phones. Pero el resultado será poder ver videos a cualquier lugar sin importar dónde esté. You're going to be able to watch videos no matter where you are. And, he's talking a little bit about that. He's giving free Starlink to the people of Venezuela. Just going to go over the timeline a little bit. And we have some patriots taking care of some things. Now, why are they trying to control information in Venezuela? I want to show you. It says the murderer, Hugo Chavez. I showed you this yesterday, but for anyone that wasn't here yesterday, I'm going to show it again. These columns are made of anime. Now, this is not anime in the, Dragon Ball sense. This is what they call styrofoam filling in the structure columns. See it?
Es una vaina de un terremoto, pero esto es pura mentira. Todos los del gobierno se cayeron. No quedó uno arriba.
Saying all the government buildings fell.
Sí, porque
You guys seeing this?
Ni siquiera en los cerros de Caracas, en Petare, o en los cerros de La Guaira, se cayeron tantas casas como se cayeron con los creados por Misión Vivienda.
Okay, so she's talking about places in the mountains and places that are not considered like super safe when it comes to this kind of construction. And nowhere did houses fall than in the homes of Mission Housing.
O sea que resultaron a la final los ranchitos, comúnmente conocidos en Venezuela, ser mejores edificaciones que los que construyó el genocida más grande que ha existido en la tierra.
Okay. I don't know if I go with her on that. She's saying that these little ranches, right? Because they call them ranchers, and they have these little ranches up in the mountains and up in the plains. I don't know if it's mountains or plains. La Sierra, you know, it's kind of like in between. They resulted to be more solid than in the houses created by the greatest genocider in the history of our. I'm not sure. I think that's Mao. I don't think that's Chavez, but I get where you're coming from.
Porque todavía después de muerto, sigue matando.
Because even after death, he's still killing. So he's definitely talking about she's definitely talking about Chavez.
Hugo Rafael Chávez Fría, construiste las peores construcciones en el peor lugar donde lo podías haber
The worst construction in the worst place to put them.
permitido construir simplemente para vanagloriarte y decir que habías reconstruido La Guaira sin tomar en cuenta la vida de la gente, porque a ti no te importaba la vida de la gente.
You wanted to virtue signal about reconstructing the Guaira, but you didn't care about the lives of the people because you never cared about the lives of people.
Gente. Tu megalomanía era
Is his megalomania? Well, that was pretty self-explanatory. That word works the same in Spanish.
demasiado grande.
Was too large.
Qué lástima que no terminaste en la cárcel. Hubiera sido mejor
I wish you would have wound up in jail. It would have been better.
verte allí.
Todos los edificios que construyeron con la Misión Vivienda están o caídos o destruidos. Son escombros. Hay un
He says all the buildings from Mission Housing are destroyed. They're either crumbled or destroyed. Like they're like not functional or just collapsed. Like it's standing, but you can't live there. The floors are like, you know, fell through. The walls are broken in. Like you can't live there.
conjunto que habían como 5 edificios de Misión Vivienda. Habían de 5, se cayeron 3.
Of 5 of the buildings, 3 fell.
Completamente derrumbados. Pero
She's talking about when they fell, like collapsed.
te estoy hablando de bloques, no te estoy hablando de los conjuntos pequeños que son edificios de 4 pisos y se cayeron. Estoy hablando de edificios que tenían 9, 12 pisos.
She says, well, I'm not talking about these little 4-story buildings. I'm talking about 5, like 3 or 5 buildings that are 10 stories high, just completely collapsed, meaning everyone in there is dead.
Estamos hablando que un conjunto entero de más de 100 módulos se cayó. Todo, no hay un...
100 modules are like 100 apartments destroyed.
No empieza, Fabián, no hay uno en pie, esto no tiene sentido.
Raícia Yari González Aponte, vivo en la OPP 34, Torre C, piso 3 del apartamento 304. Es la experiencia más dura que he tenido.
She lived in one of these houses. I think she was either rescued or not home at the time.
Mi apartamento destruido por completo.
Her apartment is completely gone.
Pero estoy viva.
But I'm alive.
Tengo 2 perritos.
Oh, she saved her dogs. You know what? In a time like this, I mean, as long as she has her dog, she'll be fine. You take her dog, she might turn into John Wick. But in a tough time, having a pet is, I mean, She's giving thanks because she's alive and she saved her dogs.
Se llama Laika y Zeus.
Okay, her dogs are named Laika and Zeus.
Y tenía una gatica que se llama Miss Andreina.
And she had a cat named Misu Andreina.
Y ella no la pude.
And she couldn't save the cat. So she's really sad because I have a cat, so this is kind of hitting kind of hard for me too.
Ayudar, necesita viva muerta.
And she doesn't know if her cat is alive or dead. I think she said the full name in case anybody knows the cat. They can call the cat by the full name. No, because she's like a cat and dog lady. I mean, I don't think she's a cat lady. I think she's like just like a regular lady that has cats and dogs. Cat ladies are mean. Like this is not. I'm not getting a sense that this is a mean person.
Su legado sigue siendo la destrucción.
Says the legacy of his legacy keeps on being destruction. So that's our updates on Venezuela. I think I had some more things here. I wonder if there's a way I can see what I've liked, because there's things here that I don't see. Replies, highlight, likes. Let me see what I have here in likes. Give me 1 second while I go over this. Because I'm trying to find, okay, so here's what's going on. One of the guys that was being an impediment, like stopping people from doing the rescue work, was this guy. And this guy just so happens to be one of the people we're giving a $25 million price tag on his head. Now, I'm going to tell you what, if I was a rescue worker, and I got, a little ring-a-ding-a-ling phone, I would catch these motherfuckers and say, hey, Marines, I heard there was a reward for this guy. Can I get paid if I got him? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, yes, saving pets is a huge boost. I'm going to look at this article from the Washington Post. Thug Venezuelan leader with 25 million on his head. Seen berating U.S. earthquake rescue team. I think this is supposed to be a video, but I can't see. It's an ad. Venezuela's dreaded Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello, who is wanted by the U.S. Wait, let me make this a little bigger. Can't read. I'm old. Who's wanted by the U.S. has been slammed as a thug after videos showed him berating and hindering American rescues in the country. As the death toll from last week's twin earthquake surged above 1,700 dead. As the catastrophe entered its fifth day, Monday, authorities in the South American country said 5,000 people had been injured and 23,000 were impacted by the staggering tremblers. Venezuela Interior Minister, that's him in the center, and like some thugs in his employ. U.S. officials have confirmed at least 3 Americans were killed in the twin 7.2 and 7.5 magnitude earthquakes that rocked north of the country. On Wednesday evening, a dozen U.S. citizens are missing. It's 12. U.S. Marines and civilian search and rescue teams have deployed to help find survivors among the rubble. Members of the elite USAO-1 team, who mobilized from Virginia, managed to pull 9-month-old baby. Oh, so these are the guys. Because I remember someone pulled a baby out of the rubble, but I didn't know who did it. It seemed like it was a U.S. rescue team. And her mother, alive from the collapsed building after they were trapped under rubble for nearly 3 days. Despite the heroics and the viral video post on social media showed Venezuela's Interior Minister Cabello shouting and waving arms without arms about at what appears to be a group of American rescuers. U.S. rescue workers are seen in Caraballada, La Guaira State. So this is the state, and Caraballada might be the city. Venezuela on 29 June, following twin earthquakes, AFP via Getty Images. Cabello has $25 million price on his head. He should remember that before he's talking all that shit. My wife has 7 dogs. No. We got to save all of it. Okay, if your wife has 7 dogs, we got to save 8 of them. You understand what I'm saying? She has 7. You got to save 8. Why? I don't know. There might be another one that needs a rescue. You know how it is. See, these are the actual rescue management, these people. One frustrated hero can be seen pointing and replying to Cabello, but there is something right over here that we're trying. Someone. This is my suspicion. These people got some drugs in these buildings. They got some guns that they're not supposed to have. Some drugs. Well, they're allowed to have guns. They're the government. But they got some drugs. They got some fentanyl maybe that they're hiding, and they don't want the government to see it. So they're trying to block some places. Call me crazy, but that's my suspicion. All right. This is what I think. See what else I got here. I'm looking for a very specific. Oh my God, I can't find it. A very specific report. This is just cool. Okay, I'm going to show you this, but this is just cool. Are you guys ready to see some cool shit? Thanks for the lift. Do you guys know what that big stick in the front of it is for? Does anybody know? Anybody know? Jousting. That is the great guess. That is great guess. But no, it's not for jousting. That's for midair refueling. This thing refuels like a jet. Bet you didn't know that. Midair refueling helicopter. This is the kind of thing that was used in the raid on Maduro specifically. So like showing this helicopter here is like, hey, don't fuck around. Don't fuck around because you might find out. Delcy. Diosdado. I think that you should just pick up Diosdado. I sincerely think that they should just straight up just pick that motherfucker up. Oh my God, why can't I find it? I'm looking for a very specific. Oh, here's some fun news from Japan. You guys like Japan? This is sort of America news, right?
2, 1.
Now, they're getting cyber trucks and the Japanese police. These cars are kind of hard like the doors are hard and the windows. The bumpers, not so much. But definitely that. You know what? I'm going to look into that right now before we go. I think we got 10 minutes to go. I'll look into that. I'm just looking for this post. I'm going to have to search for it. Okay, I have a couple of. Remember when she said she was coming back? This is how she's coming back. Las Fuerzas Aéreas de Estados Unidos han tomado el control del aeropuerto de Maiquetía. They just took over the airport. They're like, what do you mean people aren't allowed to come in? What the fuck are you talking about, bro? This is breaking news. I want to see if I can find this in English. I want an English version. You're taking control of the airspace. I can't find it in English, but there's so many sources saying that we have taken control of the airspace that I'm going to go beyond a rumor to very much plausible, very much a possibility. Yeah, I think that's happening. I'm not saying anything. I'm not seeing a lot of news here. Like, I don't want to show you anything that's not official. But everything that I find that is official, they've called for a general assembly. That's all I'm saying here. Okay, so this is interesting because here we have a video, and I want to look into it. Like, I usually go to Jose for this kind of news because he's more on the ball when it comes to this. I'm gonna try to leave him a message today, or just look into. You know what? I gotta look into his feed. El embajador de Estados Unidos, the U.S. ambassador to Argentina, Pete Lamelas, affirmed that in an interview with Ellen Plus, that he would that he thinks he hopes in wait means both hope and think. Yo espero is like I hope or I think that the Cuban land is free before the end of the year. But he compared the probabilities to those of Argentina winning the World Cup, which means nothing to me. I don't know how Argentina is doing in the world. I don't follow ball foot. I don't know how ball foot works. I know we have a big ball foot tournament, and I wish everybody the best because I don't know anything about the teams. I congratulate you on your ball foot. In America, we watch football. You guys got ball foot. That's fine. I think you also call it soccer. And we have basketball. Puerto Rico is more about the basketball, to be clear. But I don't know a lot about ball foot, so I don't know how Argentina is doing in the World Cup. I have a feeling, because he's the ambassador to Argentina, he might be biased to Argentina. So he has a strong feeling that Argentina is going to win because he really likes the team. Then okay, so yes, you can ask him. Okay, we need this. If we ever get this information, this would be great. We need to know how Argentina is doing, because this guy loves Argentina, so he might be a little hopeful. Right, but how close is Argentina to winning the World Cup? Because those are the chances that this guy is giving that Cuba will be free before the end of the year. Which is a funny way to put it, but ambiguous. When asked if he would follow the way of Venezuela, tras la extracción, after the extraction of Maduro, he said, if God wills it, inshallah, if God wills it. But he would bet that it happens in 2026. Oh, wait a minute. We have some breaking news that's not breaking at all, because I bet everybody knew. They still have Messi. And Messi is apparently, as far as I know, like an excellent player, but he's pushing 40. Hey, that's still young. I remember 40. I felt very young at 40. I don't feel so young anymore. So that's the latest news I have on that. That's what I found out. USAID, not just funding the jihadis, also the communists in Cuba. They all got Che Guevara shirts. USAID at the clinic. Over there in Cuba. I don't know if that's confirmed to be in Cuba, but, that's what we're talking about here. Oh my God. When I look at Cuba, this is sad for me. Because this is what our neighborhoods look like if
all people do is play outside all day long. There's no jobs, there's no tourists. There's literally nothing to do. Obviously people work because they have to find food. For example,
I want you to look at the streets.
His sister, she's a nurse, but she sells to make a few dollars at the end of the day and bring some food home. But you just look down the streets and people are just out chilling on every stoop top there is, chilling on the stoop in the hood. But nobody minds me any business. I don't ever feel like I'm in danger. I leave my bag here. I have money. I have my camera. That's the reality of Cuba, man. It's unlike any place that exists in this world.
So he's talking about that. I want to see if I can show you.
You guys in Cuba, all people do is play outside all day long. There's no jobs.
Hey, one second. I want to show you how close this looks to our streets in Puerto Rico. This is Old San Juan. See if I can find like a short of it. I want you to see how similar it is. I haven't seen. Let me make sure that this isn't. Yeah, it's fine. Okay, you saw how that street looked. This is how it looks in Puerto Rico. oh my God, what do you call these big boats? Crews coming in. This is the wall of the castle. That's why it looks like that. Is that where it ends? Yeah. But you kind of get a feel for it, right? You get a little bit of a feel for it. Now look at the difference. What's this? No. I wanted to go to the... What the hell?
You guys in Cuba?
It's the same type of construction. It's even some of the old colors. Like if it was nicely painted, you see how it's some of the same colors,
All people
right?
do is play outside all day long. There's no jobs. There's no tourists. There's literally nothing.
So you can understand why I'm like, damn, like they could be like us. It's even the same flag, but like we have blue where the star is and red on red on the stripes, and they have it the other way around. So, you know, it's kind of like not so good. But hey, you know what? I want to close on a good note, right? A hopeful note. So I'm going to try to give you some hope with this. Let me see if I can find it. Let me show you this. Well, I want you to check this out. No, that's not it. 1 second. Look at that. 2023, 2026. All right. Like red means communism to the South. You see, red is socialist communist. All right. Now look at 2026. All these nations, basically the whole left side, the whole west side, conservative right wing. The socialist, the victory, Espriella, in Colombia. Latest territorial defeat for Source for America's far left since 2023. They lost in Colombia, they lost in Peru, they lost in Chile, they lost in Ecuador, they lost in Bolivia, they lost in Argentina, and they lost in Honduras. Venezuela, Cuba, and Brazil could be next. That could turn it into this. So, you know, want to end on a hopeful note. With that, I'm going to be out. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for watching. Try to watch all these people's original content on the videos we had. Like and subscribe, share the channel if you can. And, you know, God bless and bye-bye.